What kind of mess have you gotten yourself into this time?
Annie had that weird calm look she gets whenever she has to clean one of us up. I wasn't sure if that was a rhetorical question or not.
Anyway, I think we need to get the hell out of here.
She pulled a pair of scissors from a thigh pocket and cut my ties. Next, she carefully scooped up the Tizzle Blast. But she frowned when she noticed the chain attached it to a metal link embedded in Hut-Popa's tail.
Do you know how outrageously dangerous this thing is?
Very? I said, hoping that was the right answer.
It's a remnant of the Berserker War and needs to be destroyed properly. But not today.
She gave the chain a little tug, but it wasn't coming off. Hut-Popa groaned and something inside his body made a rattling noise that filled the room. Asteroid Annie set the Tizzle Blast back on the ground, grabbed my hand, and together we sprinted to the metal steps that led out of the basement. There, her hover car was waiting. We hopped in, and with the Mushibloom racing after us, and Hut-Popa thundering mad getting to his feet, Annie smashed the go button and we shot off. A little while later, we arrived at her space lab, cleverly hidden in the middle of a swamp. No one ever expects an interuniversal superhero like Asteroid Annie to be living in an abandoned dump like this. It was the perfect hiding place. We jumped out of the vehicle and into the ooze and sloshed our way to the lab.
So how's your Friendabloom campaign coming along?
That was the last time. I've learned the hard way that I can't trust them.
We'll see.
We climbed ashore and she opened the door to a mysterious hideaway. I loved this place. The ceiling swirled with nova lights in canary yellow and radiation green. All about the room, in no particular order, were long tables strewn with all kinds of medical and scientific equipment.
When did you get all these cool arcade games?
Old-timey screensavers bounced on outdated monitors next to bowls of pipettes and droppers and tubing.
You've got pinball?
Dozens of oversized beakers bubbled and smoked with brightly colored liquids as Bunsen burners underneath flamed vigorously.
Oh my God, you have Defender! That was my favorite!
Everything here had a stern sense of purpose, and that was exciting. Asteroid Annie went to tap on one of the yellowing keyboards, squinting at the screen while I examined a strange X-ray machine in the corner. It resembled the ones used back in the late 20th century. I remembered as a student we all lined up in the basement of the school nurses' station. Every hour we'd have our chests, knees, and heads tapped for tumors. Ah, the good old days. Annie had moved to the other side of the room and was rummaging through a file cabinet, cursing under her breath. An antique phone rang nearby and she answered it.
Hello?
Meanwhile, I wandered over to the futon bed with the hippie quilt.
Oh, Mom. Yes, I was just about to call you.
It had been designed purely and simply to remind you how safe life could be if things worked out according to plan.
We did. We went out. Yes, it was very nice.
Sleeping here was like snuggling down into a nest constructed entirely of cotton candy spun through honey with icing sugar sprinkled on top.
I just don't see myself settling down with an accountant.
This was the bed Annie slept in when we first met, back when I helped her recover from an overdose of toxic gases. But that's another story. Right next to the bed was a large window that looked out into the moonlit swamp. There stood skeletal trees, and in the water itself, sleepy marsh turtles floated on their backs, exposing their soft underbellies for maximum moon glow.
Hey there. What could you be daydreaming about?
Annie asked, coming up behind me. She was carrying a large jar filled with shiny objects resembling some sort of tiny seeds. Nothing, I said. I didn't like to lie. I changed the subject. What are those?
There's something I've been working on,
she said and handed the jar to me.
Careful now. Don't drop them. At least not now.
What are you talking about? She put her head on my shoulder and leaned in close to whisper.
You're gonna find out later.
Just then, a blood-chilling cry filled the room. About 50 softball-sized Mushibloom appeared all around us, bobbing in the air. All at once, they began to dart around menacingly.